Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my people. What's going on? Today we've got a very interesting guest, our beloved Ustad Muawiyah Tucker, who is a specialist in finance, is going through some of the questions that you guys actually put forward to me. So I brought the Ustad on and we've asked the Ustad the interesting, tricky and somewhat very difficult questions. So bear with me. Before we get into it though, like this video, share with your family and friends, and comment below the question that you really needed answering. And to be fair, if you have a question that you want me to put forward, inshallah, maybe for the next time, then comment below and maybe I will save it for next time. But let's get straight into it.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam. Yes, Ustad. So, firstly, apologies on the little bit of a mishap. I didn't communicate myself that it was going to be on Zoom, so apologies on that. But how are you?
No worries. We're good, alhamdulillah.
Okay.
We are good, brother.
Jay. Firstly, yeah, no, what it was today, obviously I said to yourself, I get a lot of questions coming from the people that are obviously more on the Islamic side, finance related, and obviously I avoid them because I'm not someone of knowledge. So I appreciate your time today, because a lot of people basically had questions that they wanted to ask, and thought obviously we can go run through them. Were there any questions I sent to you, by the way, that you sort of didn't want to go through? Or?
No, I'm cool, man.
Okay.
If I can't answer, I'll just say I can't answer it.
Okay. All right. We're good. So to be fair, one question that also kept coming up a lot, and to be fair, we'll hit it straight away, was the dropshipping question. And I'm sure you've probably had it a lot as well yourself. But what's your thoughts on obviously dropshipping?
Yeah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So the issue of dropshipping, why I've never really given a definitive answer about it, yay or nay, is primarily because of the nature of the beast. So let me explain how it works in Islam. So in Islam, you have, if you're a trader, you have inventory. So you put down capital, you purchase inventory, and with the inventory, you make effort to sell it at a markup, obviously. That's normal, that's straightforward. The other avenue or way of making money will be to work for somebody else. So you don't actually put up any capital to purchase any inventory. But what you do is that you work with a company that has inventory, and you make an agreement with them that if whatever items I can sell from you, I get a cut of the proceeds. So that's where you're working as an agent. So the liabilities lie solely on the company. You're just an agent providing a service, trying to connect the customer to the producer. Now with dropshipping, it's become this thing in between, this area in between where you're not entirely an agent, but you're also not entirely a retailer. So you don't actually own any inventory, but you almost take on the liabilities. And that's the problem, which is why I've always found with dropshipping as an image, or as a sword, or as a situation, is that you're taking on liabilities. So I'll give you a scenario. Someone purchases a bed, some item of furniture, and it gets shipped to them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, along the way, it doesn't get to where it's supposed to get to. So the person who's paid money, they haven't got their item, and the person who produced it has said they shipped it. So who's really liable for that? Who's really whose responsibility is to deliver?
Sure.
Now, someone along the lines someone has to pay for that and take the hit. But who does take the hit? Now, if the company can prove that they delivered and that they got proof of delivery, as in it's been shipped out, then they can't be held liable because they got proof that they did their due diligence. And if the customer can prove they haven't received anything, or just say they haven't received anything, then then who there's a case in between. You have liability, yeah. So if the arrangement of the dropshipping is that the manufacturer is fully liable for delivery and whatever, if anything goes wrong, returns, they go straight to the manufacturer, not to you, then that really isn't drop shipping. You're just an agent.
Okay.
And people should call it just work you're working as an agent. They have agreement with their company. They'll get a cut of the profits, but primarily the money is and the transactions between the customer and the manufacturer,
Right.
and that's perfectly fine. Unfortunately, though, I think the way it works in practice is that the liability is on you. Money's handed over to you. It goes into your balance sheet. You declare it as income on in your tax returns, and therefore that's the way you're now acting as a merchant. So even from a tax perspective, I'm not sure it makes perfect sense, because your turnover is massive because you're taking all this money on your balance sheet. It's actually in your company.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you actually can't even take any responsibility to make sure that things are delivered on time. You can't actually make sure that the package, the item is produced properly. There's things that you do as a merchant before you even get to the idea of selling. You get your delivery, you make sure the delivery's all fine, you make sure the package is all fine, you make sure the product's not broken. There's a lot of things that you do as a merchant before you get the delivery that you can't do as a dropshipper. So yeah, it's in between that one. So if it's like that as I described it, then no. In fact, probably. Yes, that's why I say that dropshipping as it stands, it's best to stay away from it.
Okay.
Be an agent or be a merchant, but that's being in between, then knock it in the end, inshallah ta'ala.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, no, I was saying in terms of, I actually asked a question on print on demand, didn't I? And I said, what's the shadow on that? Because a few people have asked me on print on demand, how does that work and what's the permissibility behind that service as such? I know you asked myself actually in the DMs, but I guess for the people, it'd be good.
Yeah, so print on demands or those kind of things, that's different because what they're paying for is a service and you're providing a service. So they're not actually paying for a product. So for example, imagine you're what's the word? Imagine you're talking about chairs and tables. You've got pictures on your website of these chairs and these tables, and someone wants to say, I want that table, and they just purchase that thing. Whereas, for example, imagine you're purchasing cards, like e-cards, and you want a special message inside it. That's a service you're doing. You're giving you instructions to go out and do something, and you're putting a price on that action of what you do. And again, that's where you take on that liability. Now you're taking on liability because you're actually going to do something. That's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. So I guess that's another where the overlap comes, where this generic word of drop shipping gets used for almost everything. I don't think that's necessarily called that's an example of drop shipping. Drop shipping is where you have a manufacturer, they make product, you sell that product on their behalf, and you basically hand over some of the money to them, and you have like a platform or website where you do that kind of thing. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, on demand stuff is fine, and it's an example of what's called Salam. Salam is where you do that, where you tell someone to produce something for you, and you at a set price, and they come and deliver at some later date.
Okay.
Like a publisher. Imagine you want a book printed. You give me the book. I go through the material, put it into a nice digital format, get you to verify, is this how you want to print it? Yeah, print. And then I go out and get it printed and make a delivery. I'm doing something.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid for my work doing there, but that's not drop shipping.
Okay. So you're involved in the service in essence, and that's why there's a change.
Yeah, you're on service, and on top of that, who you get to fundamentally print it in the end. That's now your role you're doing. That's your work. You're going to them. You're negotiating with them to do X, Y, Z. But essentially, what you're doing so far is you're negotiating with customers. You're agreeing the price. You're doing that kind of stuff. That's not drop shipping. Drop shipping is items already there. It's already manufactured. Sure. And you're almost a useless piece of the puzzle. They click on your website, money goes to your account, then it goes from your account to their account, then it goes and delivered. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in that process, if you're an agent, be an agent and get paid a cut, where the money goes to the manufacturer. If you're a retailer, purchase stock, have it in your inventory, and then deliver.
No, fair play. I get that. I get that. And to be fair, whilst I've got you here, I have to ask the question. What's your what are you thinking about the stocks at the moment? How do you think the stocks are going to play out with everything going on in America and the UK at the moment? What's your thoughts on that at the moment?
I don't know, because I think everyone was waiting for that stimulus. Everyone was waiting for the stimulus.
It's a bit of a tricky one at the moment, isn't it? Even me, I'm just sitting on the sidelines right now.
I mean, the thing that's definitely definite to be said is that the regards to the stock market,
Yeah.
If its success depends upon free money from the government, then that's shaky grounds. And to be honest, I would never go near something like that, where basically you're just trying to push up the markets artificially. There's no real essence there. There's nothing really there to justify its valuation.
Yep.
To go into that is a risky one. Will it go up? Most likely, probably would. I don't believe they will not have the stimulus. I think stimulus is going to come.
Yeah.
And it will go up some more. But for me, it's nah. but the thing is, it's easy for me to say that because I'm involved in crypto, which is basically the alternative.
Sure.
And a better one for that. So it's easy for someone to say no when they
investing in something else. Yeah, no, sure, of course.
Whereas someone is not involved in crypto and they are already involved in stocks, maybe for them it's like, okay, maybe I don't know. But
yeah, I think I find myself I find myself in a similar situation, to be fair, because I have some stocks. I think we spoke about Tesla before as well, haven't we? And but again, at the moment it's a tricky one, so I'm just not sure where we're at the moment, or it's such a tricky market at the moment. To be fair on that, a few people have asked the question, not only in regards to stocks. I think that's something we've mentioned before. So I do mention this in our Instagram live that I've done with yourself. So I'll leave that in the link. But some people have asked a question on short selling. So what's your opinions on, sort of seeing a stock, for example, make profit in a day or 2 days or 3 days? Is that something that is permissible, or does it sort of have to be for the long run?
See, the thing is, the issue of trading stocks in the first place, and I'm sure you must be aware of, there's differences of opinion amongst the scholars as to whether or not you can do that in the first place. And the basis being to do with how much haram is is tolerable. Yes. So some ulama, like the scholars of Saudi and Lajna Da'ima, they say that no stock is technically allowed because they're all involved in riba, either taking it or giving it, and other muharramat. So as long as they do some of it, then you are essentially taking part in their tasarrufat, in their behaviors. Yes. But on those who have the opinion that you can invest in such companies as long as their haram activities don't exceed, some say 3%, some say a bit more. And then that excess you purify by giving to charity or whatnot. Then on that basis, if someone has that opinion on that basis, then I guess it's just a buy and hold kind of strategy, isn't it? You buy at a certain point, we think it's a good entry. You sell at another point, it's a good exit. The problem with the whole day trading thing is that essentially when you put yourself a time limit, when you put yourself on a deadline that you have to close at the end of the day, the activity itself leans towards gambling.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Definitely. You're making a bet that it's going to be this point at the end of the day, or that point at the end of the day. And at that end point, you have to close whether you're in profit or in loss.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas an investor, you get in at a certain point and you own something, you possess something, it's now yours. And inshallah, you hope to cash in at a certain point or sell at a certain point, but you're not, there's no deadline by the end of the day to do X, Y, Z. You can hold it for as long as you want or not. You know what I'm saying? So for day trading in that regards, it seems very close or akin to gambling.
Yeah.
Point is why? I mean, it's like saying you're going to put some money onto something, and at the end of the day, you hope it to be up.
Exactly. It's more I think you said it there, didn't you? You said it's an element of hope. Like hopefully it goes up. Hopefully I don't think any stock we can probably know that it would definitely go up or down or based on something.
Well, I mean, the best word to use is it's a gamble.
Mm. Yeah.
You're gambling. Sorry, it's not a gamble. Sorry, it's a bet. You're placing a bet that it'll be up or down at the end of the day.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
essentially what it is. You're placing a bet.
Mm.
And it's not, the bet doesn't come from the fact you're buying a stock.
Mm-hmm.
The bet comes from the fact that you put a deadline that you must be at a certain place at a certain time.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Whereas you could say in the long run, in the next 2 months, 3 months, 5 years, 10 years, I believe it's going to increase in value. That's not a bet.
Yeah.
That's speculation of a future evaluation based on performance. Whereas what happens in the beginning of the end of the day, you're basically saying, I bet it, by the end of the day, it's going to be up a certain amount, and I want a profit based on how much it's gone. That's a, you know. So day trading is a I don't advise anyone to be involved in day trading. And as you asked specifically about shorting is another problem. Shorting specifically is not permissible because of the element of selling what you don't own, the element of leverage, the element of interest which is involved in that kind of stuff. It doesn't exist.
Okay.
I have said in the past with other people, especially crypto, there is a form of shorting whereby you sell high, you sell low, so you sell high and buy back in low, with the idea that you're trying to gain more of the asset. For example, if you want to buy a particular cryptocurrency and it's gone up by 10%, so you sell at 10% because you know it's going to be a pullback. If you buy back in a pullback, you might increase your holding of that cryptocurrency back a few percentage points.
Yep.
You could call that shorting because if it goes against you, you're essentially losing your holdings. You're losing what you had. But that's not officially shorting, so it's just me playing with words.
That's all right. And to be fair, you did actually mention that, and someone actually, I think it was a very good question for the general public as well, is if someone has made money through haram means, and they have obviously now left that haram income as such, but now they have this money, which they know was earned through haram means, what should they do with it?
Yeah, so that was an interesting one because I know some people have approached me and said that Sheikhs also said that you should get rid of that money because it's haram and the rest of it. And I do agree, you need to get rid of that money. My only contention is how you get rid of that money, when you get rid of that money, and what outcomes are you trying to achieve. So, for example, and this is, by the way, this haram money, we're not talking about money that's earned through oppression, like theft. If it's theft, you have to return it to the individual. There's no question about that one.
Yep.
But we're talking about something that was a legitimate transaction, i.e. you sold a product to someone, i.e. maybe some weed or something.
I was going to say it, but I'm glad you said it instead.
It wasn't like they didn't know what they were getting and you before them. No, you sold them what you sold them.
Yeah.
It wasn't right to do so.
Yeah.
And you should get rid of that money. But my only difference I would approach that is, okay, look, you got this money. No one's made claim to that money, and you need to get rid of it. And I reckon you should get rid of it once you're at the stage whereby you don't need it in your life. Why do I say that, caveat? Why do I say that? Because if you've had a lifestyle where you've been earning good amount of money through haram, and then you go and dump all your haram cash into a charity box, and now you're poor.
Yeah.
As you're struggling to make ends meet and to get back on your feet, there's going to be an increased temptation to go back to that same lifestyle because it was so easy. You live that, like, you know how it is. You know 100% that by the end of the month you can be back in the green again.
Yep.
And that's going to be that will probably be in the long run a larger thing to contest with and deal with emotionally in terms of your iman and whatnot. And it's going to be highly likely going to slip back into that nonsense again, especially if you've got liabilities, you've got rent to pay, you've got family to look after, all that kind of stuff. Whereas if you use that haram money to invest in start a business which is halal, to the stage where you no longer you can now stand on your own 2 feet. At that stage, you can now give that all the money away into charity and get rid of it. Knowing you're not going to get any reward for it, by the way. You're just trying to remove the sin that you had from it. But at that stage, you no longer need the money, and nor you're going to slide back into the old ways. So you kind of you're good. You've got rid of the money, and you're in a better state. However, if you were doing haram and you decided to stop, and you have enough money, capital available that is halal that you earned from before or whatever, that you don't need that money, then just get rid of it from the beginning. I'm
Sure.
just talking
Okay.
about the specific situation where a person has all his capital is invested in haram. There's no other thing he has other than his capital, and by doing that, he's going to put his self and his family in a situation which is most likely going to bring him back to that haram. So to save him from that temptation and that risk, because it is a genuine risk, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no greater fitness for a man, besides women, than poverty. Because
Yeah.
that's kind
100%.
of where people why people put in that situation first place, why they earn in haram in first place,
100%.
because they
There's
thought there's no other
Yeah, no,
reason.
definitely.
There's
There's
no
more to
means.
it. There's more to it than just. I think it's sometimes very easy to label someone as something or someone or as an individual, but there's always more behind the story as such. So yeah, I definitely agree. But just to clarify on that though, Sad. So, say for example, someone is, for example, moving a bit of weed here and there, but he's making sort of I don't know £3,000 a week, for example. Where's the line though? So is he really going to make £3,000 a week with a job? Maybe not, most likely not. So where's the line then? Where does one say, okay, I think I've got enough? Because if he's making £12,000 a month, realistically, £2,000 a month is £30,000 salary. So where's the fine line, basically, just for clarification?
Yeah. So when I say move on to other halal things, generally
Mm.
speaking, anyone who's doing haram transactions, 99.9%, the skill set he has in achieving that can be applied to halal, especially when it comes to dealing drugs. that's product,
I
isn't it?
agree.
You're dealing
I
with
agree.
product, brother. You're,
I
you're
agree.
buying and selling product.
I said this
So
actually
you
in the
can you
podcast
can
with Imran. It's funny we're talking about this now.
so you can easily apply that same method, that same skill set to halal product.
Yes.
So the transfer of skills is
Mm.
straightforward.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that if you have that skill set, you could take that capital, invest in a good product,
Mm-hmm.
and then transfer your activities. It's highly unlikely. There's a few things. There's a few things. Yeah, that's me. That's me. Put it here. Thank you very much. There are very few skill sets it's not transferable.
Mm.
Like prostitution, that's not a transferable skill.
I do agree.
So but yeah, you get the gist. So that's what I mean by that. So the question is, you're earning 3K, 4K a week. Now you're gonna transfer that skill to sell normal halal products. You're not earning
Yeah.
as much. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But you still are. You're not poor though.
Mm.
So this is the thing is, and there's another thing I think we people need to recognize about business. You don't have to have what you want. You can just have what you need.
Yes.
I mean, someone asked me the other day, "Oh, what's the alternative buying a house? Because I want to buy a house. It's very difficult, and there's no
We've had
mortgages
this
and blah
question a few
blah blah."
times in the questions, by the way.
Yeah, and I said, "But why do you need to have a house? I know that's what you want to have a house, but do you need to have a house?" And this is
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that there are things we want and there are things we need.
Yes.
I'm talking about providing for your family what they need and not what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your family, your daughter wants a new Tesla. Maybe she wants a new, whatever she wants, and you want to provide it for her. And maybe on the halal income, you can't provide it for her. Then so be it. If it's not something she desperately needs, it is what it is. There's no rule written in Islam that you must get what you want.
Yeah.
So some things you might not be able to get, and that sacrifice, Allah reward you if you have sabr and accept that as a part of qadr. But yeah, so in terms of at what stage do you get rid of that money? I'd say once you have enough to fulfill your family's needs, not their wants, their needs. They have food, you pay rent, they have electricity, running water, clothes on their back. When I say clothes on your back, I don't mean Louis Vuitton and that kind of, I mean clothes on your back, go Primark, brother.
No. And that's fair enough. That's fair enough. And you did touch upon that. And so we will, because so many people asked about it. And again, we have actually spoken about this on my Instagram. So again, I'll leave the link there. But on the whole, is there an alternative to buying a house, but to own a house? People have asked the question. We know you can rent, but we don't want to rent. How can we buy? How can we have our own house? How can we have our own house, Ustad? Tell us.
So first and foremost, you need to establish, make a differential. So is your desire to own a house your indirect means of investment? Because a lot of people look at houses as investment opportunities.
Mhm.
So if I put money into a house, I'm going to make money in the long run, and in the next 20 years time, it's going to be worth X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
If that's your mindset, and your justification, then there's so many other things you can invest in that gives you greater return even.
100%.
So if that's your argument, then it's not an argument, because like I said, invest in anything else but a house. If the reason for your house, getting a house, is that you're homeless. I mean, literally, there's no way you can get a house for whatever reason. Sorry, actually, not for every reason. You need to get a house in your area because you want to be in this area and blah blah blah. And this.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, brother. I can hear you,
Oh,
brother.
I don't know. I think my internet went or something happened. I don't know why. I've just restarted the whole system. Sorry.
No worries, inshallah. No worries, inshallah. Inshallah, get an Apple Mac, inshallah.
To be fair, I have one, but I use my Dell laptop instead. Usually things are well. Things are well. But
Yeah.
so
So what I was saying was about the houses thing.
yes.
So it's not that no one's saying don't get a house. We're just saying that the method and avenues in which you do so might have to be change. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, so you might want to have the house right now in the area you want, this particular price point, and blah blah blah. That's what you want. Maybe you have, maybe all you can really get right now is a house in another city, in another country, at a different price point, at a different point in time. So no one's saying don't have one. Just saying you're gonna have to get it a different way, and be resourceful about it. Be innovative. You know, think about how you're gonna raise the capital, how you're gonna provide for it, how you're gonna what could you invest in to make your dreams of having a house come true, and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Okay. No, I think that makes sense. And to be fair, we've spoken about it. We don't really, a lot of times I think it's more an element of people feel like it's a safe investment. They want to have the house, they want to feel safe, they want to leave something for their children, and that sort of
That's because that's probably because they haven't heard of negative equity.
Yeah.
So once they learn about that one, then they might not every investment in property is profitable. That's the myth. It's not a safe investment always.
No, Ustad, I won't.
And go on.
Sorry, go on.
No, I'm saying that if we could just think for a second, is it feasible for the price of houses to just go up forever?
No.
Nothing makes that way.
Yeah.
Go on.
I was going to say, I didn't want to keep you too long, but I think this question is definitely one that the brothers were asking. Indeed, it's the leasing option. How do we getting a new car? Can we have a lease car?
Yeah, of course you can. So the lease car, like all things in this country, the devil's in the details, isn't it?
Yes.
So if it's a case whereby all payments are known at the beginning of the transaction and there's nothing to be added to it later on, then it's perfectly fine. You could pay in installments, the initial payment at the beginning and the final payment at the end, and blah blah blah. Or if you're gonna do a long-term lease, they'll just hiring it out, so if we're just paying essentially rent to rent the car, perfectly fine. But like I said, the devil's in the details. What happens if you default? What happens if you pay? And that's basically where it comes into. So if you find someone who's reasonable to say, look, if this is the payment for this is the monthly payment. If you don't keep up with the payments, just take back the car. And for example, maybe there might be a deposit that will cover the costs of your default and whatnot.
Okay.
Then that's straightforward. But that's like I said.
And what you're basically saying is, and just for clarity as well, is basically if there are late fees involved. So if someone pays late and there is a late fee charged on top, then that's not okay. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So that's not necessarily okay. Basically, what I'm saying is that if, for example, it can be justified that these late fees are to cover the costs of collection, as they have to pay bailiff, to pay this kind of thing, then it is what it is. Just make it clear in the contract that if any costs are incurred in the process of collecting the funds, then that cost is on you. That's fine. But what I'm saying is that you're in a contract to hire this car for a certain period of time.
Yes.
And I think they usually offer you the option to buy out in the end. I think that's how it works.
PCP, yeah. Some are. Leasing is obviously where you just, in essence, you have the car, you pay the amount, and 2 years later you pay back. PCP is where, yeah, you're not, you have the option to buy it basically at the end.
Yeah. So like I said, leasing is another option. I mean, if you've got a business, like a limited company, you can run that through as an expense, as another way to get out of taxes, and that's great. So yeah, I mean, if you want to do that. But from an investment perspective, cars are the worst thing to buy if you're trying to make money.
Well, look, I think we both.
It's an asset that just.
We both agree on that. I don't think we disagree on that, to be fair. But I know some, especially the Pakistani brothers, do love their cars, So I have to ask the question for the brothers,
No, it's not just the Pakistani brothers. It's a thing. Men love two things, man. They love women and cars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's or your red camel. You should say everyone. That's a standard. But I would generally say, look, if you're gonna buy a car, make sure the car is no more than 10% of your net worth. If you're gonna spend 50.
Sorry. I was going to say, I can't remember which one of the guys said it, but someone said that if you can't afford to buy the car outright twice, then you can't afford it, basically. So
yeah, so I mean that basically saying that if you buy it out twice, that's basically saying the net worth of the car is 50% of the net worth. So the car is worth 50% of your net worth.
Yeah.
If you say buy it twice, I'm saying I'm being more conservative in that regard. I'm saying look, 5 to 10% of what you own should be placed into a car. So if you want to buy a £50,000 car, you need to have in your bank account 500,000.
But the issue is should you have £500,000 in your bank account? I'm sure we would both say no, you shouldn't.
Yeah, you should put it all in Bitcoin.
Fair play, Ustad. Fair play. Yeah. Fair play. You know what? I still didn't.
I mean net worth though. I don't mean like in cash. I mean net worth, as in you could have investment or whatnot. But
of course,
it doesn't have to be liquid.
Of course.
I'm saying that what I mean by that is that some brothers, they'll save up. Yeah, they're saving up, working hard, they're grafting, they're saving up. But when they get that money, they go and buy the car.
Yeah,
I mean, you've literally blown your opportunity to amplify that money and make it something real.
Yeah, sure. No, of course. 100%. And just the last question, to be fair, and we'll end on this because Jazakallah khairan, Ustad, you've been actually very helpful. But is there, when you give money out, so loaned money, is there zakat on loaned money out?
Yeah, so there's lots of different opinion in regards to what happens with the zakat once you loan money out. The position I take is that if you loaned it out, it's effectively not yours. It's not in your position. You can't do anything with it, and there's no guarantee you're even gonna get it back. So the zakat you pay is when you get it back. When you get it back, you pay zakat on the money. Once it comes back in your possession, and you can do something with it. Otherwise, it's not yours anymore. I mean, it is it is the dhimmatik, it is in your record, but it's not liquid.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's, to be fair, most of the questions answered. And Ustad, Jazakallah khairan. Again, you've been extremely helpful. It's nice, I guess, because although I try to help the people in terms of the finance and money side and everything like that. Of course, I can't help them when it comes to certain finance questions. Or to be fair, I don't even like to answer the questions. So I appreciate you taking your time out.
Yeah. Anytime, inshallah, let me know.
I appreciate that. Jazakallah khairan, Ustad. We'll end it there. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.